9. First, the highlights. Lagos State Governor seeks Nigeria's support for armed forces. Federal government approved 683 billion naira as intervention fund for tertiary institutions nationwide. On foreign scene, 5 die in attempt to cross English Channel. And in sport, Equatorial Guinea holds Nigeria to a draw on 2023 AFCON opener. Now, the details. I am Sarah Adesanya. Nigerians have been urged to offer their support to members of the armed forces and their families as they continue to sacrifice to protect the country. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu made the call at an interdenominational divine service held as part of activities to mark the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the Chapel of Christ the Light, Alausa, Ikeja. Governor Sanwo-Olu was represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Gwega Shoyanwo, explaining that the service is an avenue to honor and appreciate the sacrifice of those who have paid the supreme price in service to their fatherland and humanity.
Government and the good people of Lagos State are united, appreciate the sacrifice of the departed. 2, to pray for the continued repose of their souls. 3, to remember their families left behind, as well as those who have become incapacitated one way or the other as a result of injuries sustained in the war front.
In a sermon titled Honoring Service, taken from John chapter 15, verse 14, the General Overseer, Mountain of Fire and Miracle Ministry, represented by Deputy Overseer Ladoja Abiodun, noted that success is built on the bedrock of sacrifices, as nothing great comes without sacrifice.
Whatever you are doing that doesn't cost you anything, of course, if it is not painful, it can never be painful. If you want to achieve what is worthwhile, you must know that it's through the pathway of sacrifice.
Earlier, Commissioner for Home Affairs Ibrahim Layade reiterated the commitment of the Lagos State government to the welfare of the families of the fallen heroes, urging Lagosians to collaborate with the government to support armed forces.
We also will keep on supporting widows of the fallen heroes, that supporting them, contributing to them, as giving them also a life after the death of their husband. I think it's something very welcome that we also can emulate to do.
And the highlight of the service, special intercessory prayers and thanksgiving were offered for Nigeria, Lagos State government, families of fallen heroes, and members of armed and paramilitary forces. Chief of Air Staff Hassan Abubakar says there is no better way to pay tribute to members of the armed forces who have paid the supreme price in the defense of Nigeria than to sustain the joint air, ground and maritime strikes against terrorists, insurgents, economic saboteurs, and other non-state actors in the country. Abubakar stated this while commending the air component commanders of the various joint theaters of operation in the country for the series of successful airstrikes undertaken since the beginning of year 2024, just as the nation prepares to celebrate the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. According to him, while the entire nation can never repay the fallen heroes, efforts at restoring peace and tranquility in all parts must be sustained to return the country to a peaceful past, which was made possible by the dedication and commitment of the fallen heroes. Abubakar also called on Nigerians to continue to offer gratitude, goodwill, solidarity, and unrelenting prayers to the fallen heroes and their families. The Lagos State Task Force has vowed to bring the operations of recalcitrant Okada operators in the state to a complete halt as it carried out week-long raid across various parts of the metropolis. Chairman of the agency, Shola Jejeli, will at the exercise said illegal activities of Okada operators along some highways in the state have continually put the lives of commuters along these axes in harm's way. Jejeli also said the raid in the Abule-Ado axis saw the impoundment of 174 Okadas, Lagos Island 50, Baji and Grammar School 50 bikes, while 70 Okadas were impounded in the Abule-Egba axis. He sounded a note of warning to uniformed men and urged them to obey excellent rules and regulations of the state regarding Okada operations or be persecuted. Ogun State government has issued a stern warning to transport unions operating along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, especially those in Ishari and Kara, cautioning them not to encroach upon recently reclaimed road setback areas by transforming them into unauthorized parking spaces. Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Environment, Farouk Akintunde, gave the warning while leading the Ogun State Special Task Force on Environmental Compliance and Enforcement to Ishari and Kara. These directives come as the recovered setback resulting from the earlier demolition of shanties and makeshift structures is slated for beautification to showcase the state's prominent and industrial status. He underscored the importance of these reclaimed areas in the government's developmental initiative, while expressing disappointment that transport unions had ignored prior warnings, opting instead to occupy cleared spaces. In his response, Chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Ishara Lofin Branch, Audu Dagwa, apologized on behalf of its members, assuring the state government of their cooperation. Of the stars. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, is said to disburse 683 billion naira to tertiary institutions across Nigeria following the approval granted by President Bola Tinubu. Executive Secretary of the fund, Sonny Echono, stated this during a strategic planning meeting with heads of beneficiary institutions in Abuja, saying this is twice the sum disbursed to the institution by the intervention agency in 2023. Echono stated that 90.75% of the sum is budgeted for direct disbursement and 80.94% for some designated special projects, while a stabilization of 2.27% is allowed to enable the fund respond to emerging issues. According to him, each university will get 1.9 billion naira each. Polytechnic will get 1.9 billion naira, while the colleges of education will get 1.3 billion naira each. Vice President Kashim Shettima has departed Abuja for the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. According to a statement by the Vice President's spokesman, Stanley Nwokocha, the trip is at the instance of President Bola Tinubu. The statement said that the 2024 forum, Shettima will join the other political and business leaders across the world at the annual forum to discuss global socio-economic and development issues. Apart from the plenary session, the Vice President is expected to launch the Private Sector Action Plan for African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCTA, at a special session to be co-chaired by him. He will also chair a roundtable dialogue on Nigeria's economic pattern before attending a special session dedicated to building trust in the global energy transition program. The Vice President is expected to return to Nigeria after participating in the week-long event. And now to foreign news. At least 5 migrants who were trying to cross the English Channel have died in French waters. French maritime officials confirmed that 70 people were trying to get into a small boat attempting to launch a beach when it overturned in the early hours of Sunday. Many were pulled from the water during the overnight rescue effort in Wimrocks to south of Calais. United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary David Cameron has described the incident as heartbreaking. And in sport, Super Eagles of Nigeria has been held to a draw by Equatorial Guinea in their 2023 AFCON opener. Salvador opened scoring for Equatorial Guinea at the 36th minute before Victor Osimhen equalized for Nigeria at the 38th minute. Nigeria will now play Cote d'Ivoire on the 18th of January. Just before we go, speed thrills but kills. Avoid excessive speeding. You can follow us on like all our various social media platforms. X, formerly Twitter, Lagos Traffic 961. Instagram, Lagos Traffic Radio 961. Watch us live on Facebook, Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. On YouTube, subscribe and watch all our previous programs and news on our channel, Traffic Radio 961. Did you know that Sanwo-Olu administration began community tourism initiative? You can get more details on the Lagos State Government website. To end the news, here are the highlight of the major stories. Nigerians have been urged to offer their support to members of the armed forces and their families as they continue to sacrifice to protect the country. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, is set to disburse 683 billion naira to tertiary institutions across Nigeria following the approval granted by Bola Tinubu. We also told you that at least 5 migrants who were trying to cross the English Channel have died in French waters. And in sport, the Super Eagles of Nigeria has been held to a draw by Equatorial Guinea in their 2023 AFCON opener. For contacts with the newsroom, send a message to Lagos Traffic Radio at lagosstate.gov.ng. That ends the news broadcast compiled by Adewale Oluwaporoku. I am Sarah Adesanya.